Hello, Steve White, Trek Boy 89 for Steve Arts 89. Well, let's talk about the New Jersey. What does the New Jersey mean in Picard? Okay, so one of the big issues with the new Star Trek series from 2017 onwards with Discovery is the inconsistency in design, canon, the whole universe. Basically what they did was they rebooted Star Trek in the movies because Paramount had lost the license for Star Trek, and they negotiated with CBS that owned Star Trek, and they created an alternative license where they could make a film in an alternative universe, in an alternative timeline. It was originally just supposed to be an alternative timeline in the same universe, but the legalities were more complicated than they realised it, and they had to actually establish a separate, different universe and the timeline as well. So how does this affect the series? Did they just move into the Kelvin verse with Discovery, or did they create their own universe for Discovery? And I think they created their own universe, the Discoverse. I think there's a third license. There's like, because there are differences between all three, and it's just a mess. And what we got out of this was huge inconsistencies, like the Klingon that basically got the Klingorks, where they basically have these big bulbous heads and no hair, and we got Pike's Enterprise, which we know what it looks like from the Cage and the Menagerie. If you don't want to acknowledge the Cage, it's in the Menagerie, the exact same shots. We know what it looks like. We know it's canon. It's a period piece. We know what it looks like. And they confirmed that in the Next Generation era with Deep Space Nine's Trials and Tribulations, and in the Enterprise era, which some people say is an alternative timeline thanks to First Contact. But again, in that universe, the Defiant still looks exactly the same as the Connies in the original series era, and it just makes no sense that they're telling us that it's the same universe, but yet it's totally different. Now, why is it different? Because they had to be able to distinguish them from each other, and they had different contracts for different companies, and they established the now notorious 25% different rule, which is where they had to make everything look just that little bit different to distinguish between the two and to make them legally separate and not share the same copyright and all that drama. And this has been proven and established with memos between producers and designers and that, who didn't know they weren't supposed to talk about this stuff publicly, and they put stuff online, and of course fans grabbed it and copied it, and then they tried to pull it out and then delete it and say it never happened and that wasn't the case, but it's all documented now, so it's history. But yeah, so we have this issue where Picard was supposed to be in the Next Generation universe, but was being made by the same people, so it had to be made in the Kelvin Discoverse. And what we saw in Picard, although we see the Enterprise D looking very much like it did in the original series in Picard's dream, it's a bit shinier and more metallic, but it is a dream, not a real depiction of the ship. So it was okay, but basically we see a hologram in an office of the Enterprise that looks exactly the same as it did the D in Next Generation in the movies. And then we saw Pike's Enterprise right after it, and I'm like, well, how can you have both in the same universe? How can that be in the original series universe, the canon universe? It can't be the canon universe if it's got a Discovery class ship, the Discovery version of the Enterprise. So it doesn't make any sense. So now we get to Picard Season 3, and we have the opposite. We actually have in the Fleet Museum an original series Constitution class ship. Now, my understanding was there were only 12 of them. They were all 17 something, like 1701 for the Enterprise, the flagship. And none of them returned home. They were all destroyed except for the Enterprise, and that's why it was so legendary, not just the adventures, but the fact it actually returned home in one piece and was refurbished and basically used again for more adventures. But yeah, we see it, and it's the same ship from the same design, the same Constitution ship that we saw in the original series, the remastered original series, Trials and Tribulations, In a Mirror Darkly, and just you can't have the same ships in the same universe. You can't. I mean, what are they trying? What does this mean? What are they trying to do? Are they trying to say that they're trying to merge the universes now and saying, well, that was a mistake. Now this is what the Enterprises look like, the Constitutions look like. They're trying to say they had both types, and Pike, what did they do? Just decommission his Disco era ship and then give him one of the other Connie's, and then Kirk had that, and they just called it the Enterprise even though it wasn't the same ship. It doesn't make any sense. There's no way to make it make sense. Outside of the fact, well, see, it doesn't even work. So if you try and look at it as an alternative universe, now they've mixed them up as well. So is Picard Season 3 somehow happening in the original universe and Picard Season 1 and 2 are in the reboot universes? It's just a mess that doesn't make any sense. And I'm just wondering what other people think of this mess. And it's just such a pity and so sad, because the original series through to Enterprise had a consistent universe with only a few little mistakes here and there and production differences, which are all explainable through just, progress and everything, and sometimes explained within canon. And now we've just got this other universe which totally contradicts it, doesn't match, and they're trying to blend the two, and now they're mixed, and it's a big mess. And I'm just curious what other people think.